My fiance's mother left her phone unlocked when I brought over my famous cinnamon rolls. And I never snoop, but when you see your name pop up that says do not read, you kinda worry a little bit. Turns out my husband, who has been with me for 3 years, was also married to a man. For 10 years, this man's name is Michael. He's at the local psychiatric ward. And you know what? I'm gonna go confront him, because if he thinks he's crazy, he hasn't seen crazy yet. My fiance's mother left her phone unlocked during a casual Sunday brunch. Curiosity got the better of me when I saw my name in a text message thread labeled Do Not Open. Inside were weeks of messages between her and my fiancé calmly plotting a fake medical emergency. I'm sitting in the bathroom floor at 3:47 in the morning, surrounded by little piles of James's belongings. I've been sorting through it for the last 6 hours now. Toothbrush here, cologne there, half-empty bottles of hair product in another stack. The shower keeps dripping in this maddening rhythm that feels like it's counting down to something I can't even name. I've had 3 glasses of the cheap Merlot. My sister left here last Christmas. I'm using an old t-shirt of his to wipe away my mascara because I ran out of makeup remover 2 days ago and have not been able to make myself leave the apartment. Sorry if this sounds long and messy. I don't really have anyone to talk to right now. Everybody I would normally call is, well, they were his friends first, or they're still our friends, who apparently knew way more than I did. I just need to put this somewhere before I completely lose my mind. It started with cinnamon rolls. It sounds ridiculous as I type it out, but seriously, I spent 3 hours making these perfect cinnamon rolls from scratch for our monthly Sunday brunch at his mother's house. Well, 3 hours of kneading dough and letting it rise and rolling it out because I was still trying to impress a woman who has hated me from day one. I even got up at 5 a.m. so they would be warm when we arrived. That's the kind of pathetic detail I can't stop fixating on now. I mean, how hard I was trying even as everything was already falling apart. Diane, that's James's mother, has this big house in the suburbs with one of those kitchens that looks like it belongs in a magazine, but everything's actually kinda sticky if you touch it. She greeted me the same way she always does. This quick cheek kiss that never leaves a lipstick mark, not like the ones that she gives James that leave bright coral smudges that he has to wipe off. She took the cinnamon rolls and made this little sound that always feels like she's assessing a child's art project. That look, well, she says these look creative. She said that as if it was about as good as it ever got with her. Every single thing was normal, I guess. James drank his coffee black, even though I know he prefers it with cream and sugar when he's not around his mom. Diane talked about her garden club drama, and I just nodded and smiled in all the right places while picking at my food. Then, at exactly 11:43, I checked my watch. James' phone rang and he glanced at it, frowned, and said, "I need to take this, it's a work call." I didn't think anything of it at first. He's been getting these calls during our brunches for weeks now, and always stepping outside to talk. But this time I noticed how Diane immediately relaxed when he left the room, like she had been holding her breath, and she got up to look for more maple syrup in the pantry, leaving her phone on the kitchen island. And then it happened. Her phone lit up with a text. I wasn't trying to snoop, I swear, but it's hard not to notice when you see your own name. The previous showed, sure, Nora doesn't suspect anything. We need to be. And the thread was labeled Do Not Open with a red circle emoji. I still can't explain what came over me. My heart started hammering so hard that I could feel it in my teeth. I glanced toward the pantry, heard Diane still rummaging about, and picked up her phone. The text was from James. I started scrolling through their messages, my hand shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. There are weeks of conversations amongst them, all about me, about date nights James needed to get out of, about excuses Diane would call with, her pipes bursting, her car breaking down, her needing help moving furniture, all of it carefully timed and coordinated, and I thought he was cheating. Gosh, I almost wish that he would have been. There were messages about someone named Michael, at a place called Pinewood. How James needed to be there Tuesday and Thursdays exactly when he would be telling me that he was working these overtime shifts. Diane asking if Michael was having a good day, and James saying things like, "Oh, he asked about the vow renewal again," and had to remind him about our anniversary. Well, I heard Diane's footsteps and quickly threw the phone down. My mind was racing as I tried to process what I just saw. When she came back, I must have looked like I'd seen a ghost because she asked if I was feeling okay. I mumbled something about a headache starting, and James, he came back inside at this point, apologizing about the call, and I studied his face. This face I thought I knew better than my own, and realized I was looking at a stranger. The rest of brunch was a blur. I felt like I was underwater, noddling and smiling while screaming internally. James drove us home, talking about some movie he wanted to see next weekend, and I noticed for the first time how he kept tapping his ring finger, where his engagement ring would be if he wore one. He'd always said that he didn't like wearing jewelry, that he would wait for the wedding band. You know, just one more lie and what was apparently a mountain of them. That night, I waited until he was in the shower and went through his jacket pocket, something I have never done before because I wasn't that girlfriend. I wasn't supposed to be that girlfriend. I ended up finding a receipt from a florist for weekly lily deliveries to Pinewood Psychiatric Hospital dated back 8 months ago. I didn't confront him, not yet. I spent 3 days in absolute hell. Throwing up in the bathroom at work, unable to eat or sleep, and every time my phone dinged with a text from him, I felt like I was going to pass out. "Can't wait to see you tonight, thinking about you, love you." Messages from someone I no longer recognized. Finally, I called in sick on Wednesday. I told James I had a migraine and would sleep it off, and the moment he left for work, I got in my vehicle and drove to Pinewood Psychiatric Hospital. My stomach was in knots the entire time. I don't know what I was expecting to find. Part of me thought maybe James had a relative there that he had never told me about. You know, maybe like a sister or a brother that he was ashamed of, maybe. Something I could forgive him for hiding. The hospital was one of those places trying very hard to not look like a hospital. Lots of natural lighting, plants everywhere, soft music playing in the lobby. The receptionist glanced up when I approached. "I'm here to visit Michael," I said, the name feeling strange in my mouth. Her face immediately brightened. "Oh, you must be a friend of James. He's such a devout husband, isn't he? Michael's in the garden today. It's good for him." Husband? The word hit me like a psychic blow. I somehow kept my face neutral as she gave me directions, and my legs moved automatically almost. The garden was beautiful. Flowers everywhere, benches arranged with a small fountain in the middle, and there, near a rose trellis, was a man in a wheelchair. James' leather jacket, the one that I'd given him last Christmas, was draped over the back of the chair. Well, I approached slowly, feeling like I was in a nightmare, and the man was thin, maybe mid-40s, with salt and pepper hair. As I got closer, I saw it. A gold wedding band on his left hand that caught the sunlight. He turned before I said a word, and his eyes widened in recognition, though we'd never even met. "You're her, aren't you? James's co-worker." I couldn't really speak at that. I just stood there frozen as he extended a trembling hand to me, and he said, "I'm Michael, James's husband." I must have looked as shocked as I felt because his expression softened into something like pity. "He said you didn't know about me, that it was complicated, so please sit down." I sat on the bench beside him, my mind frantically trying to make sense of what was happening. That's when I saw it. His wedding band up close now, engraved with James' full name and a date from 10 years ago, 3 years before I'd even met him. Well, Michael reached into a bag hanging from his wheelchair and pulled out a leather-bound photo album. "We got married in Maui. James always wanted a beach wedding." The photo showed Michael, healthier, standing, and James on a beach at sunset. James in a light linen suit, beaming at the camera with his arm around Michael. The exact same smile that he had when he proposed to me last year. "The hospital staff all thinks you're the problem," is what Michael said. The unstable girlfriend who won't let it go. James told them that you are someone from work who became obsessed with him, that you won't accept our marriage as real.
He said you would show up sometime, causing a scene, that you've been harassing us."
I felt like I might throw up right then in the garden. "I've never been here before today," I said. "I've never met you before."
"I thought something didn't add up. The way the nurses talked about you never matched the things James said when we were alone."
He pulled something else from his bag, an embossed envelope, and he said, "Our 10-year vow renewal is next month. James has been planning it for ages." The invitation inside was beautiful, thick cream paper with gold lettering. The date was the exact weekend James had told me that he would be visiting his college roommate in Colorado. "How long have you two been together?" Michael asked.
3 years, I said.
"Engaged for 8 months." Something flashed across his face, pain, understanding, anger, I couldn't tell.
"He told me he works late on Mondays, Wednesdays, and weekends."
Our date nights. The night James was supposedly with me, he would tell Michael he was working. And the nights that he told me he was working, he was here with Michael. I don't remember saying goodbye to Michael. I just remember walking through the hospital in a daze and bumping into a nurse who gave me a cold stare.
"We were all hoping you'd stop around again. He's happier when it's just them."
I drove home and printed everything, the text messages I'd photographed on Diane's phone, visitor logs I glimpsed at the hospital, and the vow renewal invitation Michael had given me. I spread them across our dining table and sat in the dark just waiting. James, he came home around 8, flipping on the lights and then freezing when he saw me surrounded by a mountain of evidence.
"It's not what you think."
The most cliché line in history of being caught. Really? Because I think you're married. I think you've been married for 10 years, and I think your mother helps you juggle your double life. I think everyone at the hospital believes I'm some delusional stalker. His face did this thing. Then it was this horrible transformation where the James I knew disappeared and someone else took his place. Somebody calculating, somebody who has been managing a complex web of lies for years.
Michael had a traumatic brain injury 2 years ago. He gets confused about our relationship sometimes. I was going to tell you eventually, but I didn't want to burden you with it."
The staff recognized me. They've been told I'm harassing you both.
"Well, because you are. Nora, listen. Michael and I have a complicated history. Yes, we were married. But after his accident, it's not really a marriage anymore. I was going to file divorce, but then his condition worsened, and I couldn't abandon him. You have to understand."
Your wedding rings have your names engraved in them. The staff said you visit 3 times a week minimum. There's a vow renewal planned for you next month.
"Oh, that was Michael's idea. He needs the stability, his doctors say." "Stop lying."
Just stop. I talked to Michael. He doesn't seem confused at all. He knows exactly who you are and what you've been doing. Well, guys, that hit him hard. For a moment, the mask slipped completely.
"You went to see him? Without telling me?"
"Like you've been going to see him for our entire relationship without telling me?" We stared at each other across the table, me shaking with rage and betrayal, and him rapidly recalculating, and I could practically see him running through possible stories, excuses, ways to salvage the situation. "I love you," is what he finally mustered up. "That's not a lie. The situation is impossible, but I was trying to take care of everyone," he said. "By making the hospital staff think that I'm mentally unstable. By letting your mother help you coordinate which nights you spend with who. What am I even to you, James? What would you call this? Because fiancé doesn't seem accurate when you already have a husband." He reached for me and I stepped back and I said,
"Don't touch me. You get out."
"Nora, please, get out!" I screamed, flinging the nearest thing, a framed photo of us at the wall, and it shattered, which felt appropriate, and that was exactly 3 days ago. James has called 37 times, my phone says. I haven't answered, and his mother showed up at my workplace yesterday. Concerning me, she cornered me right there in the parking lot and said,
"Always knew I would ruin it all,"
before a coworker intervened. So, in between James's calls, I've been discovering more and more layers of his deception. 2 separate social media accounts, one featuring our relationship, one showing his devout husband's life with Michael. Friends who knew fragments of the truth but assumed I was aware of it. A journal I found hidden deep in our closet detailing how he met Michael first, then met me years later, with entries expressing guilt but justifying his double life as, quote, taking care of everyone's needs. I agreed to meet James at a coffee shop today. Neutral territory. He arrived with dark circles under his eyes, immediately launching into an explanation. He fell in love with me but could not bear to leave Michael after his accident. So he, quote, tried to make both worlds work. He spoke about it like it was some kind of novel. Sacrifice, juggling two relationships, lying to everyone else involved. I need time to figure out how to transition to Michael, is what he said, reaching for my hand from across the table, and I pulled it away. The doctors say sudden changes could set back his recovery, but I choose you, Nora. I want our future together. I asked him directly, have you been telling the hospital staff that I'm unstable, that I'm harassing you and Michael? He had the decency to look ashamed. It was just easier to explain that way than the full situation, Nor. I needed a reason why a strange woman might show up asking questions. A strange woman? That's what I am to you now. No, you're the woman I want to marry. I laughed when he said that. A sound so hollow it scared even me. You're already married, James, for a decade. Marriages end, is what he said, and then he has the nerve to say I'll divorce Michael once he's stable enough. We can still have our wedding next spring like we planned. I got up and left him sitting there, ignoring his calls as I drove straight to Pinewood. I had to see Michael again, had to understand if he was really as confused as James claimed. Michael was in the community room this time, reading a book. He looked up when I approached, not surprised to see me, and he literally said, I wondered when you'd be back. James says you have memory problems, that you get confused about your relationship. Michael's laugh was eerily similar to mine in the coffee shop, empty, pained, and he said, I have some cognitive issues from my accident. Sometimes I forget what day it is, or I even repeat myself, but I know exactly who my hubby is, and how long we've been together. Then why? Why do I play with his lies? At this point, Michael closed his book. Because I'm dependent on him, financially and otherwise, and my insurance doesn't cover long-term care, and James controls my trust fund, and if he leaves, I'm scared of what'll happen to me. I must have looked horrified because he also said I'm not proud of it, but survival isn't always pretty. Later, I convinced a hospital psychiatrist to speak with me. She was reluctant until I showed her my engagement ring and the text between James and his mom. Michael has no documented delusions about his relationship status. She confirmed after checking his file, there's some memory issues, but nothing that would cause him to fabricate a decade-long marriage. So, James has been gaslighting both of us, it seems, telling me Michael is confused while telling the hospital I'm unstable, creating a situation where neither of us would ever compare notes. I've been staying at my parents' house since then. They're trying to be supportive but keep saying things like, these things happen, you'll find someone better, as if this is a normal breakup and not whatever this is. My dad calls it emotional fraud, which feels strangely accurate. James showed up here tonight with roses and promises to end things with Michael gradually. He suggested we could still get married as planned, that we could move past this, and when I refused, he accused me of being cruel to Michael, of not understanding the complexity of the situation. What kind of person would I be if I just abandoned him? James asked, as if he deserved a medal for maintaining a double life instead of choosing one of us honestly. Here's the thing I can't stop thinking about, as I sit here sorting through this at 3 a.m. James has been living two completely separate lives for years. He's managed schedules, maintained separate social circles, coordinated with his own mom to create these elaborate excuses, and he lied to every single person in his life, including his own husband, gaslit both me and Michael, all while appearing completely normal. I mean, how do you do that without being, a sociopath? How do you look someone in the eyes and tell them that you love them more than anything, plan a future with them, all while maintaining a completely separate life with someone else? And what does it say about me that I never noticed? That I was a complete fool?
I keep finding these little things that break me over again. A receipt in his gym bag for custom wedding bands, presumably for our wedding date. That same week he was planning the vow renewal with Michael. A birthday card for Michael hidden in James' desk drawer with a love poem that uses some of the exact same lines that he wrote in my Valentine Day card. Hotel reservations for a surprise weekend getaway he was planning for me that falls exactly between 2 scheduled procedures that Michael's having. He had it all mapped out. Every minute accounted for, 2 lives running in perfect parallel, never meant to intersect. I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. Call off an engagement? He's not even legally available to be engaged. Report him for fraud? To who? Everyone I've told either doesn't believe the full extent of it or suggests that I, quote, consider his difficult position. As if maintaining 2 relationships is some kind of nobility and not a pathological lie. The shower's still dripping, and I think I've been sitting here for almost 7 hours now. The sun will be up soon, and I should probably try to get some shut-eye. But every time I close my eyes, I see Michael's face. When he handed me that vow renewal invitation, the genuine compassion he shows me, a stranger who unknowingly has been the other woman for years. And James texted 10 minutes ago. I know you're hurt, but this doesn't have to be this way, Nora. Not the end of us. I've been thinking about it, and there's a way forward. Can we talk tomorrow? The thing is, I'm not even angry anymore. I'm just empty. Like someone scooped out everything inside me and left this hollow shell sitting on a bathroom floor at dawn, sorting a liar's toiletries into piles. I keep asking myself, what if I've never seen that text on Diane's phone? Would I still be planning our wedding blissfully unaware, or would I have married him? Becoming what? His second wife in a non-legal ceremony? How far would this have gone? The sun's coming up now and the wine bottle is empty, and James, well, his things are in a neat pile on the tile floor, ready to be boxed up and returned to a man I never actually knew. I still have the vow renewal invitation. Sometimes I take it out and run my finger over the embossed lettering. The date's that's 2 weeks from now, and I wonder if they'll still go through with it. I just wonder if all the nurses and doctors who think that I'm some obsessive watcher will be there celebrating their love. I wonder what happens to Michael now that I know. I wonder what happens to me. I wonder when exactly I became a plot point in someone else's elaborately constructed life rather than the protagonist of my own. And honestly, I'm too afraid to figure it out right now.
This was one of the more crazy stories that we've covered recently. I want to know your thoughts. Do you guys enjoy these 30-minute videos? Drop it down below, or do you prefer 15-minute videos? Let me know your thoughts on that. Let's go ahead and review these comments. And the reason we're going to look at the comment from this story is because OP actually replied to this commenter. And this person is not very happy with OP and actually thinks the whole story is fake. Here it is. Okay. So you spent 3 whole days after finding the messages before going to the hospital? Oh, and when you get there, the confused guy conveniently had a whole photo album ready to show you, complete with invitations to a vow renewal. That happened to perfectly contradict your fiancé's story? Come on. Either you're leaving out massive parts of the story or you're writing creative fiction. Nobody just hands an incriminating photo album and an invitation to a total stranger who shows up claiming to be engaged to their husband. That's not how actual humans believe and behave. And if your fiancé really is some master manipulator, running 2 parallel lives for years without a single slip-up until now, why would he suddenly become so sloppy that his own mom leaves her phone unlocked with a thread, literally labeled "Do Not Open"? People capable of maintaining these elaborate double lives don't make cartoon villain mistakes like that. I'm not saying your pain isn't real. I'm saying this reads like a plot of a Lifetime movie where they had to rush the 3rd act because they ran out of budget. Sorry if it's harsh, OP, but something smells fishy here. Guys, that's when OP replies, but you know what? It is kind of weird how the mother-in-law would have something on her phone that says "Do Not Open." It's like, what? Here's the reply from OP. I get it. I get why it sounds fake, I really do. If somebody had told me this story 3 weeks ago, I'd have the exact same reaction. Well, that doesn't happen in real life, except it did, and now I'm living in it. Then 3 days? I was terrified during those 3 days. I was. I kept hoping there was some explanation that would not destroy my entire life. Classic denial, I guess. About Michael having the album ready, he didn't. He reached into his bag when I sat down. The album stays with him at the hospital, and apparently James visit, and they look through it together sometimes. The invitation was in there too, because they've been discussing the details during James' last visit. I didn't include every single minute detail, because I was typing through tears at 4 a.m. after finishing a whole bottle of wine. As for Diane's phone, yeah, that part feels ridiculous even to me. But narcissists get sloppy when they think that they're untouchable. James never thought that I would look at his mom's phone. Why would I? I trusted him. And the do not open might as well be labeled, please read me. It was stupid. But people do stupid things when they think that they're invincible. Look, I get the skepticism, I really do. Sometimes I still wake up hoping this was all a nightmare. But the hospital is real. Michael is real. The wedding photos are real. And my therapist bill, is definitely real. Guys, that does make some sense. If Michael was looking at this album when his husband arrived, then it makes sense why he would keep it with him. I want to know your thoughts on this story. Drop it down below in our comment section. Also, guys, if you're new to the channel, this and Mr. Reddito's Revenge is my only channel. These two channels are the only channels I'll be narrating on. So make sure you're subscribed. You can look for this logo. It'll be in the thumbnail in the top right corner. That's how you know it's me narrating. Guys, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. Oh, and by the way, I have a saga story coming out, which is a 3-part video about a mother-in-law who was an absolute nightmare. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.